Welcome back to the Tomatolito Boxing Show. And there's a fight that I want to talk to you guys about that took place just a few days back. This was the headlining, the main event, the headlining fight, the main event for Pro Box TV. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the streaming network, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a promotional company or a streaming network, but Pro Box TV has numerous fighters involved. Juan Manuel Marquez, Marco Antonio Barrera. You have Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, Antonio Tarver. Roy Jones from time to time pops in. You have a lot of people that are involved with that organization. They do commentary. They have preview and recap type shows as well. Tim Bradley tends to pop on there from time to time as well. And Mike Goldberg, the former announcer of the UFC, who brought the UFC commentary to prominence alongside Joe Rogan in its original days. He's doing commentary now for Pro Box TV as well. And they're set up fairly well. They have their own network, their own streaming platform. And they've been putting on some really good events. And they have several events that they put on the last couple years. They're fairly new, in case you haven't heard of them. But they're mostly focused on up-and-coming talent, blue-chip prospects, fighters that are at the crossroads of their careers, fighters looking to revive their careers. And it's kind of like your new version of Friday Night Fights, or USA's Boxing, Monday Night Boxing, or Tuesday Night Boxing when they ended up migrating one day over. It's kind of like that throwback style where you see solid boxing, up and coming boxing. The only other place that you could catch that is going to be on TV Azteca. They usually air boxing live from Mexico in different cities, different parts of Mexico, and they'll air up and coming fighters and very very grounded, down to the roots type fights that you see these styles being exploited, or fighters coming into their own. A mixture of elite and up and coming. That's kind of like what Pro Box TV brings you. Very entertaining. And if you didn't catch the main event, I would suggest go watch it. You could actually watch it on YouTube, and they have the entire card available on there. The main event was between one Angelo Leo, American fighter, Mexican or Mexican descent, but American fighter, he fights out of Las Vegas now, original from New Mexico native. He ended up fighting a Filipino fighter by the name of Mike Plania. Now, this was as high-level chess as you could ask for in a boxing match. It was intense. It was back and forth. Both fighters displaying pinpoint accuracy. Just top-level boxing by both of these fighters, where anybody that took a breather, anybody that made a mistake, the other was going to capitalize on. And that's exactly what happened. It was such a fun fight between Angelo Leo and Mike Plania. And if you don't remember who Angelo Leo was, Angelo Leo was your former WBO champ at 122 pounds. He holds one loss to date. And his sole loss is at the hands, by way of decision, against one Stephen Fulton. That was the first title that Stephen Fulton got at that division. The second one he ended up gaining when he got the decision over Brandon Figueroa. Well, Angelo Leo stayed in that division at 122 for, I believe, one more fight, and then migrated north to 126, which is the division that this fight took place in against Mike Plania. And now he's making a name for himself, knocking on the door of Leigh Woods, ranking himself fairly high, especially after this victory. He's right there within a fight or so from getting a shot at Leigh Woods, who's the current WBA champ at 126. Who are your other champs at 126? Well, Rafa Espinosa, the Divino. Rafa Espinosa just dethroned Robesi Ramirez, the Cuban sensation in December in what should have been the fight of the year. It was just an amazing fight. That fight was taking place, I believe, if my memory serves me right, was taking place at the same time as Devin Haney and Prograis was going on. Opposite ends of the country, one taking place in Florida, and Devin Haney's with Prograis fight was taking place out in California, Northern California. Those are your champs. Rafa Espinosa is the champion. Leigh Woods is a champion. And who are your other two champs there? Venado Lopez is another champion there. And there's another Mexican fighter that's a champion there. Ray Vargas, I believe, is the WBC champ in that division. Brandon Figueroa ranked fairly high at 126 now. Since that loss to Stephen Fulton, he abandoned the 122 division, moved up north, especially because he was having trouble making that weight. And he's been a wrecking ball and a wrecking machine at 126. And he's ranked fairly high, ready to take on the champ. He should be getting a title shot in his very next fight. Angelo Leo, same thing. He lost the title to Steph Fulton. That's how Steph Fulton became the unified champ at 122. Continued his comeback, continues to get better, and now he is at the, if he's not at the peak of his boxing career right now, he is just near it, because he is fighting on all cylinders. His speed, his delivery, his footwork, everything, the way that he's processing these fights and the way that he's adapting to his opponents on the fly is second to none. I really urge you guys to go watch this fight. Angelo Leo stops Mike Plania in the third round with a nasty body shot. The fight, the tail of the fight, you guys let me know when you see it. I hope you do. And let me know, leave me a comment on the corresponding post on Instagram to this episode that I'm going to put up here shortly. Let me know what you guys thought of this, because Angelo Leo ends up taking the fight to Mike Plania and vice versa, right? And both of them kept the fight basically up high as a pinpoint, tit-for-tat type fight. Mike Plania, however, remained up high and kept the fight as a head-hunting type fight, trying to land, trying to score, trying to get those points on Angelo Leo, where Angelo Leo, by the second round, began to vary his attack, and he started attacking the body. First, started introducing the jab to the body, making Mike Plania uncomfortable, and he would follow it up with a succession of punches with combinations to the body that were actually hurting Mike Plania. By the end of the second round, he had Mike Plania super cautious. And Angelo Leo, the way that he was able to take Mike Plania apart, a fight that from the opening bell you thought was going to go the entire way, you just didn't know how this fight was going to play out. Angelo Leo begins to pick him apart by acknowledging and going along with Mike Plania's plan of staying up high and making it a points type matchup. And it was I hit you, you hit me type fight. But by the second round, he started varying the attack just as feelers. He starts throwing feelers to the body. And when he would see that Mike Plania would not react to those light jabs to the body, he would follow it up with combinations to the body, and he would end up inflicting damage. By that point, by the end of the second round, Mike Plania begins to fight a lot more cautious, continues his fight up high, continues going head hunting for Angelo Leo. Angelo Leo abides and continues to find success in the body, continues to find success up high as well. And by that point, by the third round, Mike Plania didn't know where the attack was coming from, including there's one exchange where Mike Plania is so cautious now of his body, and it was evident that Angelo Leo had hurt Plania to the body, because Angelo Leo ducks, feints low, fakes the attack to the body, to which Plania drops his guard, assuming that the attack was coming to the body, drops his guard instantly to protect himself, opening his face up, and Angelo Leo fakes down low and follows up with a huge left hand uppercut, followed by a straight right downrange, which began the dissension of Mike Plania. At that point, Plania didn't know where the attack was coming from. It was as high level pedigree as you could ask for in a boxing match. It was beautiful to watch, and that's why I'm saying Angelo Leo's boxing at an all-time high right now. If he hasn't hit his peak, he's right there scratching. He's scratching away at that peak already, because the way that he fought that fight against Mike Plania just showed him as well-rounded as anybody. Scary to see, because it was beautiful and scary, because it was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful to see how quick he was adapting, how quick he was processing what Mike Plania was doing. And it's scary to see what he's going to do in the coming fights, and how he's able to take apart his opponents. Scary for the opposition, because he's becoming a monster. And should Steph Fulton ever move up from 122, we still haven't heard from him if he's going to remain campaigning there at 122 or if he's going to go north. Then you bet that Steph Fulton's going to run into Brandon Figueroa, run into Angelo Leo again. These are the big players there. That was a huge fight that he had with Steph Fulton, in which he lost by decision and lost his title because of that decision. Steph Fulton, of course, I mean, he was at the top of his game. He lifted that title, then got the nod against Brandon Figueroa, which ended in a little bit of controversy because Figueroa was disputing the scorecards, thought he was robbed, blah, blah, blah. You know the rest of that story. Nonetheless, Steph Fulton unified the division, became unified, and then ended up going for the undisputedship against the Monster out in Japan and fell short, to which the Monster became the undisputed champ of 122, his second division. Angelo Leo is knocking on the door of Leigh Woods, and I would not doubt it if Angelo Leo just dismantles Leigh Woods a lot faster. Leigh Woods possesses a lot of power, and he's frustrating for his opponents because he attacks from every angle. But Angelo Leo's fighting so calculated and so measured. He's as well-rounded as any fighter in his peak at the moment, and he's not a one-trick pony. The way that he mixes his attack, he's just taking him apart. He's picking him apart. I can't wait to see him in action again. I don't know who he's going to end up facing next, but you know it's going to be somebody at the top. Somebody at the top who's also knocking on the door of Leigh Woods. I can't wait to see where he goes from here, and if he runs into a fight against a Brandon Figueroa, who's also knocking on title contention at 126, holy crap, that would hands down be a fight of the year just on paper. And I bet you anything that it would play out that way as well, should the fight happen. He's got all the makings right now to have his hands around a title at 126. Mark my words, mark this episode. I have no doubts that Angelo Leo is going to be a champion at 126 if he continues to fight like he did just a few days ago against Mike Plania. Congrats to ProBox TV, because I hadn't watched too much of their content. Although I had seen some fights, I hadn't watched too much of their content. And that's a detriment that I'm going to own up to it. And because of this fight, I'm going to begin to follow ProBox TV a lot closer, because there's a lot of big names that are fighting there that are, these aren't stay busy fights. These are meaningful fights. Mike Plania is no joke. Mike Plania is a hell of a fighter, and with an amazing record as well. He was coming into this fight as 29-3 with 16 knockouts. And he had a great body of work as well. Recently, he was coming off that great win against Daniel Nicolas. He had lost to Elijah Pierce. He had lost to Rais Salim. He had fights with Jeffrey Francisco, who's another up-and-coming fighter. Joshua Greer Jr. I mean, you look at who he's been fighting, and he's been fighting near the top, either blue-chip prospects, or contenders. And now here goes again. He got into the ring against Angelo Leo. He was bested. He was stopped. But he's right there. He's such a good fighter. Mike Plania, who's going to give trouble to anybody and everybody who steps in the ring with, and going to give him good work, if not stop him. Because he possesses that type of speed and that type of power. Angelo Leo was just able to outsmart him and turn his strengths into weaknesses turned Mike Plania's strengths into weaknesses and figure that if we were going to go and keep this fight up high, I might very well lose. Let's start varying the attack. And he started the assault to the body and eventually ended up weakening him to the point where he stops him with a nice left hand. The fight also, just to close this episode out, it nearly ended in disaster because of the referee. Leo drops Plania with a nice left hook, clean shot, and the referee apparently was distracted because he seemed like he was in a perfect angle to have seen that punch, but he was apparently distracted, so the referee, rather than begin the 10 count for Mike Plania, ends up standing next to him and talking to Mike Plania in concern, treating it as if it was a low blow or an illegal hit. And for about 2 to 3 minutes, there was a pause where Angelo Leo's bouncing on his feet, trying to stay warm on the corner, Mike Plania's clamoring in pain on his knees, and the referee standing next to him, looking to the side, talking to the outside of the ring to see if they could, if somebody could help him, just looking for someone to bail him out. And after about 2 to 3 minutes of this delay, because if this would have been a low blow, they could have robbed Angelo Leo of this. If Mike Plania decides to get up and sell it, they could have taken a point off Angelo Leo. Even then, it could potentially, he would have been stopped if Mike Plania decided to continue. But meanwhile, he's recovering. Or it could have been deemed a DQ and Angelo Leo loses by DQ. Or it becomes a no contest, in which this was some of the most beautiful work that Angelo Leo has done to date for the fight to have ended that way. In the end, after about 2 to 3 minutes, that whole delay happened, that whole fiasco, the referee ends up waving the fight off. Angelo Leo runs across the ring to the caddy corner, jumps up on the corner and celebrates, and he is announced as a rightful winner by stoppage. Very interesting fight. If you didn't get to see it, go see it. Catch it on YouTube. Go watch it. You will not regret it. Hell of a fight, hell of a performance, as high-level boxing pedigree as you could experience, as you could witness, and I want to hear from you. What did you think? Am I overselling Angelo Leo and how he performed, or am I calling it just right? Because I have no doubts that you're going to be impressed with the fight itself, but with the performance and the work that Angelo Leo put together in this last fight against Plania. Congrats to Angelo Leo. I can't wait to see him in his next outing. Congrats to ProBox TV for the matchmaking and the great show that they put on. And now, because of this fight, I'm a fan. They got a new follower, a new fan. So I'll leave you guys with that. This was a quick one. Just wanted to make sure that I point this fight out because it needs to be mentioned. And what a hell of a performance by one former champion in Angelo Leo. Keep an eye on him. He's going to make noise at 126. I have no doubts. All right, people. Thank you guys again for tuning in. You guys know I get excited. I love this sport, and so do you guys. Thank you guys. That's why you guys continue to tune in. Share the episodes. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family members about it. Hopefully, I'm bringing new narrative, new dialogue to you guys to where I'm giving you guys backup and ammo to defend yourselves in these conversations when people just give you the talking points and the headlines, and they tell you, oh, Crawford's better than so and so, or Canelo's this, or hopefully you guys are getting some good content out of my show to where you guys have some backup and they just don't tell you like, well, so and so fighter is the best in this division, and you come back with, well, guess what? So and so is also a pretty good fighter, and he would probably give him a good challenge, or blah blah blah. That's what I'm shooting for. Give you guys some ammo, some backup. I do the research for you guys' enjoyment and hoping that you guys get some good content out of it. New dialogue, fresh narratives, and fresh content. No bias, no biases, no one telling me to shut up or that I can't say this or I can't say that because they own me or they sponsor me or what have you. Not happening. This is as pure as it gets, as commentary gets, and coming from a fan's perspective, just like you, and we'll continue backing each other up. the downloads continue to come, and I'm going to continue pumping episodes your way. I gave you guys my word. Look at it. We just went to Munguia and Ryder live. The doors were open for us to take advantage of the opportunity, and my buddy Joe joined me, and we were there live. And I'm going to try to get to many more events, should I be allowed to. If I get the opportunity, you bet your ass I'm going to be there. So, yes, thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Toma Todito Boxing Show, your boxing show, hopefully your favorite boxing show. I'm Heck Cali. Have yourselves a great night. Salud.